So, we're about to go on furlough. We've been in Japan for almost 4 years.
This term.
This term, yeah. It's gone by fast.
Really fast.
Really fast. It feels really fast. But there's a couple reasons why we're making this video. We just don't have anything else better to do with our lives. No, I'm just kidding. No, but honestly, as we were thinking about going back to the States and telling people about what God has done, typically when we're in a church, typical service like 60 to 90 minutes long. There's singing, there's preaching, all that stuff. So the actual time we get to share about like what's going on, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if I'm preaching, sprinkle a few stories in there, and it's not much. And a lot has happened. And some people, you'll get the bits and tidbits as you read our newsletters and updates, but still there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And so kind of the way we're imagining this video is, we've been to church, we went to church together, there was singing, there was preaching, all that stuff, all that. But then afterwards, I want you to imagine that we are sitting in your living room and you just said, hey, so we've got all the time in the world right now, tell us about your term. And this is the conversation, the living room conversation we would like to have with everybody. Now, realistically, we can't. So we're going to try to do this to at least share some of our struggles, some of our victories, celebrations, a lot of that we've learned, how we've changed, all that. We want to share that with you so you can rejoice with us. We think that God has some really big things in store moving ahead as well. And we're excited to go back to the States, but also to come back to Japan. So this is not us throwing in the towel like, oh no, it's so hard. That's definitely not what this is. So 4 years.
4 years. We landed in Nagoya 4 years ago, the top of September.
Top of September.
And now it is almost July.
Yeah.
And we are headed back the end of July. A lot's happened.
Yeah, a lot's happened. So let's start out from the beginning. So let's just start from this term, okay? Because there's a whole 2 years before that, but I don't think we need to get into all that this time. 4 years. So we landed, and it was still COVID.
It was.
It was still
COVID here.
Well, remember what that was like?
Yeah. Well, first off, we had to drive from Tokyo all the way to Nagoya right after we got off the airplane with jet lag, and we were not allowed to leave our little apartment to go anywhere. So basically we had to quarantine for 14 days. It was
2 weeks. I think it was 14 days. Basically, yeah, they made us install an app on our phone.
Every day they called to check and see.
Check to see where are you. You'd have to have your registered place that you're quarantining, and they'd send you an alert at random times of the day to see if you're actually doing it.
They had trackers on us to see where we were and stuff. Yeah. We were allowed to go to the store to get food, but we weren't allowed to go to restaurants or ride public transportation or go to malls or shopping or anything like that.
Which is why we drove. We landed, rented a car because we couldn't take public transit. We can't take the bullet train. That was a no-go. It also took us 2 hours in the airport. Do you remember that? We landed, and then they literally walked us the entire perimeter going from station to station, getting COVID tests, swab, everything. And then we got on the car, drove here 5 hours, because Nagoya is 5 hours from Tokyo, drove 5 hours.
I'm tired just thinking about it.
Yeah. That was intense.
It was fun.
It was crazy.
But we made it.
We made it.
And we had a little Airbnb to stay in. This is the time before we were in a hotel, and you said never again are we going to do a teeny tiny hotel room for 2 months.
That was the term before, yeah.
So we found a little apartment.
Yeah, it was like a 3-bedroom. I think it was 3-bedroom, technically.
Yeah, 2 of them were kind of tight together, but we had a bedroom for us and a bedroom for the kids with some bunk beds and a little kitchenette. So we were able to live there for the first 2 months while we were trying to figure out what a church building would look like, where we would live, all of that.
Kids were jet lagged, couldn't go outside except for emergencies or whatever. Although I did drive around a little bit.
You drove around.
I was like, I'm in my car. Come on. I'm literally in my car by myself. Although I did, because we lived in Niigata before, so the day after we landed, I don't recommend doing this, by the way. I'm not sure what we were thinking.
I don't know how you lived.
But the day after we landed, I got up the next morning, because I got the rental car, I picked it up in Tokyo, and I said I was going to drop it off one way to Niigata. But we drove to Nagoya first, spent the night, and the next day I drove to Niigata, dropped it off, and picked up my vehicle, so we wouldn't be renting a car for 2 weeks. Just rent the car, dude. Like, now I know, like, just rent the car.
And how 7 hours, 6, 7 hours?
Yeah.
Was the drive from Niigata
5-6 hours? So like, I got up in the morning, drove all the way up there, dropped off the rental car, walked to the parking lot where Will and them were keeping my car. Thanks, Will, by the way, for being a bro.
Yeah.
And then jumped in the car, drove straight back. I was so
worried he was going to get in an accident just because we were jet lagged and
I think
he was by himself driving.
Too cheap.
Yeah, we were trying.
It was literally just trying to save money on a rental car. Like, dude, just rent the car. Like, I don't know.
It's not worth dying in an accident.
Anyway.
But God preserved.
Yeah.
Kept you safe through that. So that was cool.
That was good. Yeah.
Started looking for a place to live.
No, we looked for a church first because
Yeah,
our thinking was we want to figure out where the church is going to be, so we don't end up finding a house and having to drive an hour across town or whatever.
Right.
So
we started looking.
Yeah, and so there's a guy who. So rewind a little bit. Before we came to Nagoya, I'd come to the city several times. I tried to visit some churches, talk to people. And there was a church, and after I met with the pastor, he messaged me on Facebook and said, hey, there's a guy in our church. He's one of our church members, and he's in the real estate business. You should contact him. I didn't really think much of it at the time, but we got back. Oh, my goodness. We're not going to mention any names, but
he's been a godsend.
He has, oh, my goodness. He has been huge help in opening doors. Anyway, so I contacted him, and apparently... turns out he helps a lot of ministries in the city find buildings. He has 30 years of experience in real estate here in Nagoya.
Just a kind, gracious man, so willing to help with the hunt for finding a church. And he has a great reputation. And so even just the different businesses here and the different people, when they hear his name, they're like, oh, okay, we respect him. We would work with him.
Yeah.
So he was very gracious to vouch for us as we were getting started as nobodies.
He was patient with us, too.
Yes, he was patient with us.
We were like, oh, we should do this. He's like, maybe not. Like we were just trying to go super cheap.
Yeah.
And
we were in a hurry, too.
We were in a hurry.
I think the eagerness when you get here and you're like, we got to get started. We got to do this. And I think we had very much of that, just like, we want to do this right now. And we had 2 weeks of a quarantine, but we were trying so hard to find a place for the church and a place to move, like ASAP. And our real estate agent, he was so kind and gentle with us, but he was like, slow down. Yeah. It's going to take time. It's just how it works here. It takes time. Like, even when we found an apartment that was empty, and I'm jumping ahead, but once we found one, it was still like 3 to 4 weeks before we could even move in, just because of the way paperwork works here. Yeah. And we should have chilled out a little more.
And right now we're looking for an apartment. We're like, oh, we could sign the lease the week before in the States.
In the States.
Yeah. So anyway, we went and looked at a bunch of buildings that I'd found, and it's like, no. And then I think we'd finally finished quarantine.
Right, we finished quarantine because we were taking the kids to the park finally.
Yeah. And remember, we hadn't moved in yet, so the swing head injury thing.
Oh, yeah.
But so there was a bigger park down near the port, and so I said, let's just go down there. It looks bigger. Let's check it out. And so we drive by, and I dropped them off. There wasn't a good place to park, so I dropped Rosie and the 2 boys off because Ezra wasn't born yet. And then I went to go look for a place to park, and then as I did, I saw a sign on one of the shutters, and it said for rent. I'm like, I haven't seen that. It wasn't available online or anything. It just literally a sign slapped on the thing. So I'd been driving, like even while we were in quarantine, I was literally driving up and down roads, looking at stuff, trying to figure out, okay, this listing, where is it? Just trying to go see it on my own. Like, just what's the vibe? This one wasn't on there. And so I called, is it still available? Called the number. He's like, yes. And then I called Mr. Our real estate agent, and he's like, okay. So we ended up getting to look at it. And he walked in, he's like, I could see this being church. He's like, I could image waku. Like I can imagine that. I could see it.
I can see
that. So it it was like a 300 square foot room, like tiny.
And those of you who follow us know this is the room over the meat shop.
The room over the meat shop. So
that we used when we started out.
It wasn't ideal. Okay, so you had to go up these narrow stairs. Like, it was kind of dark too because it wasn't very well lit. And then you turn left, and it's the first room on the left. And so they had used it for storage. We found out later that Yamaha had a music studio there. And so this room, it was just a room. They had paid to put the walls in. So there was a long room, a little room that we used for kids, and then like almost like a closet that we used for an office.
Closet office.
But they had left the soundproof walls and doors in. So the doors like that thick. And
it's great for having screaming babies.
Yeah.
In like a tiny space right beside the main room.
If you've ever been in a music studio or a practice room, you know those locking doors that go, that's what they were. So we're just, sound is gone.
It's great. Because at the time we had a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and then I gave birth to our third son as we were starting the church plant.
Yeah.
So being able to just step next door with them to the room beside and close that door off so if they were screaming it wasn't disturbing everybody in that small space was great.
Yeah, so we rented it, but even before we rented it though, there was a meeting between the owner and our real estate agent. And it turns out that the real estate agent and what is in part of like a commerce association in the east side of town, East District, and then the butcher shop, the meat shop owner, he was technically the head of the meat association, the citywide meat association. Well, in the East District Merchant Association, the number 2 guy for the meat association is in there. So our real estate agent knew him, and then the meat shop guy knew this. So they had a mutual contact. And so when it came down to, hey, do you know this person? Yes, I know this person. So there was like some established trust there, which I think if that wasn't there, they probably wouldn't have rented to us.
I'm not sure if we would have been able to find somewhere to rent. I think in Japan it really matters a lot what your history is and where have you rented before. And you had not really rented other than our home in Niigata. You had not rented. You had no real credit here in Japan. And so that connection, that relationship between our real estate agent and the owner of the meat shop who was renting it to us, just God really worked that out to give us credibility to be able to rent, which then set us up for future buildings to be able to keep renting.
And so they had a sit-down meeting, and the owner was like, so tell me, how's it really going to be? And our real estate agent was basically like, hey, I vouch for these people. We'll make sure that everything is taken care of in sincerity. And so, they rented to us, and we weren't able to put up a sign as much as we wanted. Which now looking back, I'm like, I probably want a huge sign slapped all over my building with somebody else's business on it anyway. But, we were trying to be ambitious. Anyway, but they worked with us, and that's where we started. And we're like, we have a building now. It's so awesome. So we bought some chairs, bought some tables. And we set up first, we were like, we tried to do like a grand opening service. Remember that? And like, almost nobody came. Like one
Did
family.
Anybody come? Maybe one family?
The family you met at the park came. Remember that? They came. And then I think we had one more person who came from a flyer or something. So before we like launched, which don't do this, but especially if you're just starting out, we started an English class, and then we tried doing several other things to try to just get the word out. And at that point, we were still thinking like walking distance, which we later learned very quickly.
Our whole church planning philosophy was a neighborhood church where people are going to come and walk from walking distance.
But here, a lot of people don't walk. They'll drive, they'll take a bus, they'll take a train. So that shifted later. But we were only targeting the immediate vicinity with flyers and advertisements and stuff like within 10 blocks. And that's not our range. That's not what shouldn't have been our radius. So you're like, all right, grand opening. And then it's like crickets. We're like, we're expecting God to do great things. We're going to have 50 people. This place is going to be packed out. It's like, well.
Oh, that was such a good learning time for us, though.
I
think we really just showed up here in Japan excited, which is awesome. I think you should be excited, right? And expecting God to work, which is also awesome. I think you should expect God to work. But I think we very much had an attitude of like, we're going to come in, we've been taught how to do this. We've been taught how to church plant. We know how to church plant. We're going to come in, we're going to do everything right. And there's going to be tons of people come and people are going to be getting saved and it's going to be awesome. Which there's nothing wrong with like hoping towards that and dreaming for that. But I think we just had this idea of like, we are going to do everything right and we're going to see results because of that.
We have the magic formula.
Yeah.
We're going to run the play and just the country's just going to get saved.
And I think
I'm here now.
I think God had to humble us.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's looking back over this first 4-year term, I think God really had to bring us to the place where we realized this is God's work and he is going to do it in his own way and timing. And we get to be part of that. But we could do everything right and people still get to make a personal decision what they're going to do. You can witness to someone in the most perfect way and they, at the end of that conversation, they still are going to have to decide yes or no. And we can't force people to decide that. So I think we really had to learn a lot of that, especially that first year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that first year.
So, but we had a website, we were trying to get the word out. We had some people come.
Yeah,
and
we did.
But we started out, we were trying to be super ambitious, right? We're like, church once a week. So we're like, we're going to have Saturday service. We're going to have Sunday morning. We're going to have Sunday afternoon. We're going to have Sunday night.
Give people choices.
Give people choices. Crickets. And, we tried that for like a few weeks, and then we eventually dropped the Saturday. Oh, and we're doing Wednesday night too. Mm-hmm. Wednesday night, which meant our family went and sat in a room. Yeah.
Remember Christmas? That first Christmas. So we had just launched the church plant like a month before. Mm-hmm. And that first Christmas, we were like, we're going to have like a bunch of Christmas services and a candlelight service. And I think we had like 5 different events planned that, like services planned that week. Looking back, it's like, what were we doing? And our son, our 3-year-old.
It's too much church.
we were getting ready for the next service and he was like, Mom, Dad, it's too much church.
I agree with him now.
Yeah, I think
it was too much.
I think it's good to try things, but I think I don't know what we were doing. We were learning. We were making mistakes and learning.
Yeah. So fell forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had a couple start coming, and they came from like 2 hours away. They found our church, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, we were praying for a church. We found a church. This is awesome." And there were some red flags that, looking back now that I see, and now I'm more aware of in people. And as I've listened to other podcasts and stuff, I realize this isn't just an us or those people. It's those kinds of people. So it's not anything personal. But it should have been a red flag when they start talking bad about other churches that they had been to. They're like, well, they would do this and they would do this. But we love how you do X, Y, Z. And we really tried to, we thought it was going to work. And we were excited, because they showed up and they were like all in. They're like, we're here, we want to help this grow. They showed up early. They're coming from far away. We would pick them up to go to church because they were like taking the train in an hour and a half. And they were like, well, you shouldn't have to take the bus another 40 minutes. We'll pick you up because we live close to the station. And we were like, this is great. Made some cultural mistakes in how we communicated with them. I thought I was showing friendliness, friendly banter, and they took it as rude.
Which, to be fair, yeah.
So I think there was some misunderstanding there, which is on me. But we were excited, and then they moved to our city, and she was helping and kind of turned into like the church secretary. We were paying her to do that, and then they moved to our city, and then didn't come, and then we get a letter in the mail, and they're like, "We're not coming anymore," and we were just like, "What?"
Yeah,
That was a huge disappointment because we thought first like nobody was coming, and then they started coming, and they were trying to bring people and connect with people, and then some other people started showing up.
You're starting to get excited.
It started to feel like okay, because there was a time when those first few months, like nobody was coming. Like Silas would be like,
Is anybody
coming to church today? And there would be days when we would just sit in the room and it's just us. I'm like,
I'd tell the kids a Bible story and yeah, sing a song together.
Yeah. So, we thought we were gaining momentum, and then they dropped off. And then there was an incident where we were going to put out a flyer. We had a picture from people who had gotten together. We put it on there, and there was some back and forth. Then somebody got upset about that in a group chat. And then it was literally over an emoji. Like, I tried to call the person. I thought we worked it out. And then, man, it was...
Yeah, I think, the first year, so the first year we were here, I think we launched the church, and then things just didn't take off like we really thought they were. Because we thought we were doing everything right.
We were coming to a sputtering stop.
And so it didn't take off. And we kind of walked through, I think, right around when our first son was born, because he was born about a half a year.
Third son?
Our third son was born.
He wasn't born. We're not talking about born again.
Our third son was born about 6 months after we got here. And right around that time, I was in the hospital with a baby, and you were still trying to do church, and nobody was coming. And that was kind of a really discouraging time right after our third son was born, because we didn't really know anybody yet. We didn't have a lot of connections, and nobody was coming to church. And then over the course of that next year, this other family started showing up. Some other people started showing up, and it was like, okay, we're starting to see some momentum. We've got some people who are excited about working together with us at the church. And then just, bam, we get a letter, and they're like, we're upset, we're not coming.
Yeah.
And we tried to reach out and work with them and talk with them, and it just didn't go anywhere. And I think we were really heartbroken over that. And then we had the other lady.
That loss.
Yeah, we had to. We really were just grieving that, and
so
it was tough.
They were with us for about a year, a year and change. So we started the church in December of 2021, and then they started really coming regularly, maybe that spring-ish, and then they were with us till like the following spring, roughly. Yeah,
so our kids would ask, where are they? Where are they? And that was hard.
It's tough.
Which
you don't want to talk bad about people.
Yeah, and not to throw fault. We made cultural mistakes with that too, and could have handled things a lot better, I think.
But also, they were dealing with their own issues too, and so at first I think I took it super personally, and then the other person who was pointing fingers, they were dealing with stuff, and I think it's very easy especially when you're young and new, to take it all personally. Like, man, this is all my fault. Now looking back, I'm like, they had issues too.
They had stuff they were going through.
They were dealing with crap, and yeah. And so I think, the people that were hurting and had personal things going on that maybe weren't in a healthy spot themselves, when stuff happens, it's unhealthy and it breaks apart. And so,
especially with us coming in with, a lot of American mindsets still, which you are half Japanese, but you've been in the States for a while, and I think some of that too was probably a little damaging and kept it from being resolved easily. Yeah. Which,
I'm like, the Bible says we should talk and deal with this, and they're like, please don't talk to us. Yeah. Like, how frustrating that was to me. Like, we're just trying to you're a Christian, let's just do what the Bible. Like, please don't talk to us, leave us alone. Like,
but looking back, it's like, they were upset. They needed space.
They needed space. Yeah.
And maybe if we had given that space at first, but you can't what if. But I think we did walk through that.
So there was some of that. But before they left, so that first year so we go through this time, this like 3 months in, we're like, what are we doing here? It's not working. Nobody's coming.
Right when our third son was born. Yeah.
We literally had this do we just need to stop? We're wasting everybody's time. We're wasting everybody's money. Why are we going and sitting in an empty room? I'm tired of this. Like, I'm out. And then you were just like, well, why are you here? Like, I think God wants us here. Like, okay.
And that doesn't change them.
That doesn't change that.
If nobody's coming to church, it still doesn't change if God wants us here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we almost quit.
Yeah.
We almost quit. But we knew God wanted us here, so that kept us here. And so it kind of started sputtering along after that. We kind of broadened our range. We got parking. It was 2 blocks away, and people started coming, because we could technically park on the street behind the church, because it was not a no parking street, but you can't ask.
It was hard to park there.
You can't ask first-time visitors and guests. You should park on the street, like neighbors and stuff. So we did that. And people started coming. And then we were just like, listen, this is sputtering along. So I think it was like July, August, September, we were like, okay, we have a lot of extra support right now. Let's just, because I'd heard that one of the problems that churches often face is that people just don't even know you exist. They're like, never heard of you. Don't know you're even on the map. So I was like, let's make sure they know we're here.
Make some noise.
Let's make some noise. So we had, right around the time Ezra was born, that spring, 2022, we put up a few ads on telephone poles. Like you can have an ad slapped on there. That's like a metal sign, like talking about whatever business you're in. So there was a guy who is a professing Christian, and he's in that line of work. And so he came to us and we paid for a few. And I was like, let's just go nuts. Let's just go crazy. Let's just go big or go home. Nobody's coming to church anyway, so let's at least go down swinging. Let's go down trying. If nobody comes, so be it. But we tried. So we put up, I think at one point we had like 30-something telephone poles.
Was it 30? I thought
20,
it was like 15, but
I think we had like 20 through one company, like another 10 or 15 through a different company, because the power company has electric poles, and then the telephone company has poles. And then we put up 15 billboards. Billboards, like huge.
Big red billboards.
Red billboard, had the church logo, church name, our picture, and then it said we had parking. That was literally it. And so, bam! And then I said, like, there's a company that's called a posting company. There's several different ones, and they basically put out flyers for you, because you can put out flyers in mailboxes. So we made a red flyer similar to the billboards, and had a church name, our face, Sundays at 10. We have parking on the front, and the back was like, hey, if you're new, you're welcome, all this stuff. And so you can pay as little as like 2-3 cents a flyer to get them distributed to the entire wards, the entire districts. So I think it was like 60, maybe 70. I'd have to double check my numbers again. 50, 60, 70,000 people just in our ward. And so I said, hit every one of them 3 times. So 3 months straight, they got flyers, boom, boom, boom. And then their billboards go up. And then we were running ads on, it was called Twitter and Instagram, like the same graphic, like just the same thing, just like flooded it. There was one person who actually called me because their friend had come to our English thing. Our English thing, we started it out before we launched, hoping to get some contacts to funnel in. And we're like, hey, we're starting a church, this thing, let's do this verse, and we're going to do this at church. And then, like, literally nobody came from that.
They came to English class.
They came to English class and they didn't come. Which, looking back, I'm like, maybe we needed to develop those relationships a little bit more.
It was just very much a student teacher. You come to class, do this thing. We didn't have a relationship.
Yeah.
With them. Yeah.
And I think maybe they were still probably feeling us out a little bit more. And maybe we could have eased that in a little bit more. It was too fast. We were rushing.
Again, we were just rushing.
Because we were like, all right, we're going to do this English thing. All right, now church has started. Come to church now. English is over. And they're like, which, a common scenario is people come to English all the time and never come to church. So, like, there's back and forth on that here. But where was I going with that?
You were talking about the billboards.
Oh, the billboards, yeah. So we actually got a call, and someone was like, how did you get my address? Like, I'm sorry, who are you? Like, my friend was going to your English class. How did you get my address? Like, I don't know your address. We're just putting out flyers literally to the entire ward. She's like, oh, so it's like everybody's getting this. Like, yeah, they thought we were like targeting their house
because their friend
came to our thing, which I was like, I don't know your name. They didn't give me their name. They didn't give me their address. Like, I don't know you. I don't know who you are. This is literally nothing personal, okay? Nothing personal. It's just a flyer, okay? But through that, we started seeing that's when the room filled up.
Well, and that's also, I think this is important. You had a skateboarding accident. You hurt your leg.
Right around that time.
You got the billboards up. You hurt your leg. And all of a sudden, you were very limited in what you could do. And I think God really used that for us because we were we had been like, rah, 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 go, 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 try everything. And you were like spending long hours out at the station passing stuff out. And I think you should work hard. But I think when you hurt yourself, it was like, I'm on crutches now.
Propped up.
And it was just kind of this realization, like, if we're going to see something happen here, God's going to have to do it. And like, we are not.
That's it.
We can't do it. And
unless the Lord builds a house, you labor in vain.
Yeah. And I think that was very key.
Yeah.
Because right at that time, you got hurt. We had thrown all those billboards out, tried to make some noise, and then you got hurt, and then people started showing up.
Yeah. Because the billboards went up and then I got hurt, essentially, like right around the same time. So, but people started coming. People who lived close by started coming.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I think part of that was that brand recognition. Like they were driving to work, saw billboards, kept getting our flyer, and showed up.
People frequently would come, well, where did you hear about us? Oh, I saw the big red sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saw your sign or whatever. And through that, we started having people come. We have a guy who still comes, regular, not a Christian yet, but he's like, I kept seeing your signs, and so I decided to come check it out. I remember at that point, we started having like 15 people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would sit in a circle and, have Bibles, hand out Bibles, and, just how awkward he was with the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you ever held the Bible before? Like, no. Mm-hmm. Ever been to church before? No. Well, in the States, I went one time with my sister. They went to a thing, kind of thing. So, yeah, that was crazy. Mm-hmm. Just like it. And so it felt like in a matter of a few months, all of a sudden, we went from like a couple people, which there were a few people who started coming regularly. Like, before all the billboards and stuff went out, we probably had like maybe 5 or 6. There were like 2 people who came very regularly. They also came because they met me. I was passing stuff out. They thought I was a Buddhist trying to proselytize. So they tried to convert me. And then I was like, Uno reverse. I'm actually a Christian too. Actually, church. They came that Easter. And then they've come almost
regular.
Very regular. It's very rare that they miss. They still come. And then the other couple that got mad and left. And then a few other people started trickling in. But then the billboards go out, the flyers go out. Bam, we like hit everything. And then we went from like 5, 6 to like 20. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And some days we were going like 23, 24, 25. And it was like so full. So like
it was
so full that, like we would set up the chairs, and then after the teaching and stuff is done, immediately everybody would break everything down because it was like standing room only. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to stand around and have coffee,
the chairs were in the way.
The chairs were in the way, like we couldn't move. And so we began, so the room is full. This is before everybody gets mad and leaves. And the room's so full, and that New Year's, after that, we said, okay, we're going to hit the large shrine. We're going to pass out hand warmers with a QR code to a video sharing the gospel. And do that New Year's Day. Because everybody goes to the shrine on New Year's Day. So instead of doing church, we said, let's go to the shrine, pass stuff out, and then we'll have an afternoon service, eat traditional New Year's food, and have a great time. So we did. And that afternoon, I remember standing up and said, all right, you guys probably realize that there's a lot of people here and we need more space. Mm-hmm. So we're going to pray for God to give us a place that has at least 10 cars parking, 10 parking spaces, at least 80 square meters, because we were currently like 40 on the first floor.
So we didn't have to deal with stairs, right?
And close to here. Mm-hmm. Those were our 4 criteria.
We started praying for that.
And literally 2 weeks later, a warehouse that's a 5-minute walk from our place, obviously on the first floor, that was 8 square meters with 3 parking spaces in the front. So not 10, but you could park on the street. We later rented some more, so we had a total of 11 spaces. And the other thing, we didn't want our rent to go up too much.
Oh yeah,
because we were paying
reasonable price.
10 man, so 100,000 Japanese yen. They wanted 11,000. It quadrupled our space, our auditorium space, and we had to pay for some renovations and stuff. So that was a large upfront cost. I think we ended up spending like $35,000 to get rooms installed, AC units, get it fixed.
It was just a blank literally just a warehouse. There was nothing
Yeah.
there.
But we prayed for that. 2 weeks later, this place shows up on the market. And we're like, guys, so remember we were praying for a building? Okay, we think we found it.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was really cool.
And
it checked every single one of the things that we were praying for.
Yeah.
And just God very clearly answered that. That was really cool.
And so it's a not rough, but like it was rough starting out. We were trying to go super cheap. Like, we think we need curtains. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Like we had pallets. We're like, all right, warehouse church. We're like, you need curtains. Like everybody's like, you need curtains.
There weren't even walls inside. It's just like bare. And our people are like, let's put something up to make it look nice.
Like a stage.
Yeah.
So we went on Shein and got curtains. Shane.
Yeah.
In Japanese, it's Sheen. But got curtains.
You made a cross.
Made a cross.
Yeah.
Handmade.
Yeah.
To make it feel a little more churchy. But that was like over time. We're like, if you want curtains, we're going to have to pay for curtains. Who's going to pay for those curtains? So
that was neat, though. Everybody got involved in moving day. Everybody showed up and helped move to the new warehouse building.
But before we moved to the new church building is when all the fallout happened. So, that family that got mad and left, they went with us to the new building before we rented it and started renovating it. And so it's almost like we were almost there. We could see it. And then everything fell apart.
Because we lost that family. And then there was another individual who got upset. And then there was another lady who never said she wasn't going to come. But when all that happened, she stopped coming.
Yeah.
And
it was
sad because they were...
I literally did your baby dedication.
They were the people who would show up to the planning meetings and the working meetings. And so it was sad to lose that right as we were transitioning. And then another couple that was coming, they moved.
Yeah.
Right after we moved to the warehouse, they moved way out in the countryside. So
we were growing. We're like, we literally can't fit in this. We need more space. We found a place. We're settled. We're moving in. And then like half the crowd
just left. I don't know. Maybe God was just trying to keep us humble because, everything started taking off.
I literally felt like we were about to just like going to the moon.
Yeah.
That's how I literally felt at that moment. Like, we're going there. Here we go. Woo! And it just
kind of fizzled again.
Yeah. But while I had my knee injury, I was going to the hospital because it was my left.
You were having to go to therapy for your leg and stuff.
I've messed up both legs. I'm trying to remember
which your left leg.
No, right.
You drove yourself to the hospital that night. And used your left foot, didn't you?
My foot. Left
so
foot.
It was your
right
leg.
My right foot, yeah. Because I messed this one up when I was younger. So I was going to the hospital, and then I went to a physical therapist, a doctor downtown, because we looked it up, and they're like, this is the best.
So rushing. You were like, I've got to get this better as soon as possible.
ASAP. And so said, okay, gonna go. So first I was going to the hospital, taking a taxi, and then eventually was driving downtown, able to drive, doing exercises, trying to get all that. And one day, as I was driving home, I was literally driving down the road, and I was like, what if we did a basketball internship?
Because you were like, I can't play basketball.
I can't play. I tried doing basketball. I'm not good at basketball. No one wants to play basketball with me. I wouldn't want to play basketball as a way to meet people and make new contacts and all that. So but what if we had some young guys come over and that was their job? That'd be kind of cool.
And meet people.
Your job is to make connections. So that was kind of born during that season. And so as we're moving into this new building, we had 3 guys come. Two were just in high school and one was in college. And we still keep in touch with a few of them right now regularly. And that was a neat experience too. We got them into a language school.
They were here for 3 months and they went to language school the whole time, and they came to church and
they painted our kids' room.
Basketball. They painted the kids' room in the new building. They were awesome.
Yeah.
I think that really was encouraging for you too as this gets into a whole other aspect.
Yeah.
But we came to Nagoya to plant a church, just our family. And that was hard. Just one family. We didn't really have any connections. We weren't really reaching out to other missionaries in the area.
At the time, yeah.
And I think, at that time we weren't. And we've learned now that we really need
help,
other
encouragement,
other Christians so desperately.
The body of Christ.
Yeah, and not just the ones who you're
ministering to.
but ones that you can have that mutual encouragement from. And so I think when they showed up, here's 3 young guys who are on fire for God,
Want to serve God.
want to
love
serve
Jesus.
God. I think that was encouraging for you.
Oh, yeah.
Especially after having just had some of the fallout of the church and some people stopped coming. Like here you have 3 young men who are on fire for Jesus, and you got to basically spend the summer like
Every
helping
week
them.
we would meet. So basically, I'm like
Yeah.
discipling them, coaching them, helping them work through their conflict, helping them, process
roommate things and work through
and like read books together and talk about it. We had some people come for a missions trip, and like we got to because we were kind of functioning as a mini team, and so like, okay, let's talk about this person, that person. Not like in a gossipy way, but like, okay, let's evaluate. Do we want them? How would they fit into this? All that. And so that was a neat experience. And I think that's something that they got to take with them. We learned a lot through that.
We were really encouraged having them here for 3 months. Yeah.
But that was also a time when I was working a lot.
Yeah. You're working a lot.
Remember, by the way, we're at the TV tower right now. I'm not sure if I mentioned that.
Some of you guys know that.
Some of you guys know that from our update stuff. So this is not our house.
I just FaceTimed my sister before we started, and she's like, I did not know you had that creative view. I was like, no, this isn't our house. We're downtown at the TV tower where we did the Bible seminars.
Yeah, the view is great. Let me see if I can... That's the view. You can't see it very well when it's too bright, but...
Downtown. In a cool
downtown, yeah. But no, this is not our house. This is a rented space. So, but we were a couple blocks from here on a date, and
oh yeah, we were.
Remember that?
We were evaluating kind of where we were at, what was going on.
Why am I so tired?
We were getting ice cream. We're sitting in an ice cream shop.
Was that at the Baskin Robbins?
The Baskin Robbins. We're sitting in an ice cream shop, and you were tired. You've been getting sick frequently, and we were just kind of trying to take stock of where we're at. We sat down with the calendar, and I said, "Why don't you kind of look at your schedule and see like how much are you working? Like, what are you resting enough?" So he started counting. He started looking at the days and started counting the hours. Now we take Mondays off. Like Mondays is off day. We do our best not to. Just to rest on Mondays, to have a date, to play with the kids.
Ideally, yeah.
Ideally. I mean, sometimes stuff comes up, but... So he started counting from Sunday morning. Started counting. I think you got to Thursday and you were already at 80.
Something like that.
And you still hadn't counted
Friday
and Saturday. And you went, whoa.
And it was like part of the way through Thursday, like halfway through Thursday.
And you were already at 80 hours. And you were like, whoa. And you stopped and you went back and recounted. And I just remember the way he looked at me, he was like, I'm sorry. Yeah, just kind of realizing like,
can't do this.
Us spending 100 work hours a week isn't going to be what leads people to Jesus.
Yeah.
Like Jesus is going to draw people to him. And yes, we need to work, but you can't kill yourself in the process.
So we tried to do a lot of major overhauling during that time.
That was important.
And we also started, I think it was right around that time, as the interns were here, and I was still working a lot, but I started doing a thing called Think Day. Remember that?
Yeah.
Because basically, the brutal reality of it is, okay, so there's a Netflix thing about Bill Gates and how he does Think Week. He literally gets a bunch of books, disappears into a cabin, and just reads books for a week and drinks a bunch of Diet Coke or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I can't disappear for a week. Okay, like that's unrealistic. But I could do a day. If I do a day, a month, that's like more than a week, a year. So I found this really cool space on the other side of town. It was a rental space. You pay like $10 a day, and they have free coffee, tea, water, Wi-Fi. But it's like, I'm going to intentionally go to a different space, different place than normal, so I can think and pray and plan and prepare. And so I think that was really helpful going into that, because then it was, okay, what do I need to be doing?
Mm-hmm. It's like
how should I, reevaluate, reset.
And really just spending some more uninterrupted time in in a position of being able to pray and actually hear from God instead of just to like go
and create and produce.
It's like
so
actually
like
hear.
I do even sometimes there'll be like something like okay, I'm gonna write this article, and like I don't take my computer usually. I usually take my iPad and maybe a keyboard, and I'm like, but like that's just the time to do it. Like, I'm just focused, or like reading books, and I'm just like reading and getting ideas and trying to think about stuff. And
He always comes back from Think Day with like pages of notes and ideas, and
we could do this, maybe we could do this. Let's try this. Let's do this. Like it's just like ideas. So I guess we could call it Idea Day, but that's probably copyrighted by the Idea Day Network. So
I don't even know what that is.
Think Day. So, you know, going into that and saying, okay, what do we need to do? And around that time is when I started getting this. Like, I was having trouble sleeping at night too. Remember that? I couldn't sleep at night. Like I didn't know why. I think I was just so tired, so exhausted. That I would just wake up and we live close to the river, so I like walk down by the river. I'm just like, God, what do you want? Like,
you were getting sick frequently. You were having trouble sleeping at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was rough. Because I'm like, I want to sleep. I just can't sleep because I think I was just so tired. And so around that time, I really felt like, you know, there was something to be done with like the international community here, like foreigners here, and like not just Americans, but like other nationalities. Like, what does that look like?
Our church is in an area where there's a lot of immigrants who live in that area from various countries.
And so trying to figure that out. And then it was on one of those think days that I was like, I remember the place that this right by the window. They're no longer in business now. I love that place. They went out of business. Man, I really miss it. But right by the window, I was like, God, what do you want? And I felt like God very clearly had said, 16 churches by 2030. Like, this is where you're going for. What?
And that's how I reacted when you came home too.
Yeah.
With me.
Like,
what?
What?
We're struggling to get one church off the ground.
We're dealing with all this, and now that, huh?
That would have been 2 years into our term.
2 years in. So like, there's been all this fallout. Everything's falling apart. The interns had left at that
They'd
point.
already left.
They'd already left. So we're back by ourselves. We're like kind of sad, you know. I missed them because we spent a lot of time together, and it's like, whoa.
And we had just decided that you needed to scale back and spend a little more time resting, a little more time playing with the kids and going to the park with them. And then it was like God clearly said to you 16 churches by 2030. And we were like, how does that happen?
So let me rewind a little bit. Before that happened, though, we made a shift in our trips over that summer.
Yeah.
We said, we are going to do what we call, because up to that point we had this mission trip thing.
And it was always a struggle to get applicants for that, which was interesting.
Yeah.
We tried to do them in Niigata too, and I feel like we always struggled to get applicants for.
Well, part of the time was COVID, and Japan was locked down too. So,
fair.
But we had some people come, but then we're like, we need to change this, and so we raised the bar. I remember like before we were just like, sign up for the mission trip and come. Great. Then we're like, no, you're not allowed to come. You can come when I say you can come. that's literally the attitude. And I was like, we're gonna make it manly. So like, I used AI to like, if you go to the recon page, that graphic is like AI generated, okay? And like the dude camo, like with like the black gloves and like binoculars looking out, it's like, and then like a city in the background, like some mission trips crossed out as like reconnaissance tour. And
the whole idea, I think, is there's a lot of countries in the world where you can go on a missions trip, and even if you don't speak the language, there's a lot of ways you can help. There's building projects you can do. You can dig a well. There's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah.
But we're in a first world country, and so honestly, if you come in from overseas and you don't speak the language, you're really limited in what you can do here.
You're like 95% useless.
Like. And we don't say that to be mean. We love having people come.
We have people come. Okay, so it's not a don't come.
It's just different. Yeah. Like people go on a missions trip expecting to be able to go and plug in and serve and help, but
we don't need you to paint a wall.
There's limited things that you can do
We don't need you to paint a wall.
Yeah.
We don't need you to do our plumbing. We don't need you to put a roof over our heads. We don't need you to dig a well. Our water's good. Our buildings are good. Our Wi-Fi works. Our rooms are air conditioned. Okay, like
It's a first world country.
Yeah.
It's just part of that reality.
our train system works better, and our city's probably cleaner than yours. So, like,
You sound so rude.
but it's true.
It's true though.
It's true.
And so like we were like, how do we help people? If you come to Japan with the mindset of I'm gonna go and make a huge difference in Japan, then like it's hard to do that in 10 days.
And a lot of trips are feel-good trips. Like I did something and I helped somebody, and that feels good. It feels good to help people, and so it's like,
But we wanted to do something different.
yeah. So
And that's
like
where
we're gonna do
reconnaissance tours were.
recon.
Yeah.
And so we're like, this is literally like you're serious about missions or ministry, and so I will show you around and to kind of give you an insider look on life and ministry in Japan, so you can prayerfully consider your next steps. So I think the way we're saying it right now is it's a curated experience. You're not coming to serve and do a bunch of stuff. We do some ministry stuff too, but
You'll get to go down the station and pass
stuff
out
out.
gospel literature and stuff.
like so we're not saying no to that, but it's, hey, this is a curated experience for you to understand. If you commit, and that's what we're looking for, if you commit, here's what it's going to be. And people started signing up. That first trip,
was crazy.
we had 6 people who were like, we want to come. And I'm like, okay. And right around that time, this starts taking off. Chris reached out. Well, her husband reached out first. And I said we weren't going to say names, but Chris is on our team, so I think I could say her.
You their name.
And so, yeah, Chris, there's a whole nother video on Chris and me interviewing her, so we'll link to that somewhere else. But
Which basically is our stateside support and
she was like,
awesome.
yeah,
Help.
I want to be involved in reaching Japan. I saw your goal of starting these churches, and I want to be involved in that. And it was like, God was like, you need help to start these churches and get the people, and here's help.
I think that's where we started to realize, no, this isn't going to be us starting 16 churches. This is going to be us getting to be part of a growing team that is willing to
catalyst.
start
The
these 16
catalyst
churches.
that does
And
that.
Chris is huge for that stateside because she just is, she connects with people.
Yeah, she's a people person.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we first started, she was helping us with like some graphics and everything. But that's not her, no offense, that's not her juice. That's not her jam.
people.
She's people.
She connects.
Yeah. So,
She handles all of our stateside references and
yeah.
she's awesome.
So,
Goes to conferences for us.
yeah. To
Finds the videographer.
Love that. Don't jump too far ahead.
Awesome.
So I went to the States. I literally flew because we're like, she's going to basically call people's pastors and their references and check them. And so it's like, basically she's going to become our gatekeeper. And so I'm not just going to hand the keys to somebody who I've never even met in person before. So I literally flew to the States just to interview her. So I flew into Columbus, Ohio,
A 4-day trip.
went and met her, literally didn't try to fix jet lag.
You were just like up during the night working.
I was like up during the night. I'm like, I'm not going to fix jet lag for 3 days and come back and be jet lagged again. Like, I'm not doing that. Although it was very tiring in the afternoons over there because it was like 2 a.m. over here. I'm like, but I made it. And yeah, ended up bringing her on. She's with Glints right now. Her husband currently works for Moody Aviation, so he's got a lot of know-how, and we probably should pay him for his consulting services. Thanks, Curtis. I appreciate you.
Curtis would be like, I think Curtis might have a connection or an
Let me ask Curtis
idea.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, probably should.
Anyway, send us an invoice. We'll pay whatever you need. So we did that. And
people
man,
started coming.
and people started coming for recon, and literally like all these people who we had been connected with before, or they found us, we're like, we're doing recon now, sign up. And they're like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Here's all my information. Here's this. And I'm like, okay, I do an interview. I ask for your information. I scope you out. And like, okay, cool, come on. And 6 people showed up from like 6 different states, literally that first time. It was Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, Washington, California, and Oklahoma. Like, where have you guys been? But again, I think it was God working all of this out. Like, we had the people in place, we had the plan in place, we had all this, and it just like worked. And like, so we had a basic idea of what we were going to do, and we're like, and we realized, hey, if we're going to do, I can't remember exactly when this happened, but I said, if we're going to have 16 churches, we need people, and not just one person, but like groups of people to start these churches. And so we just need more people. So instead of doing a summer missions trip, let's triple our input. So we said, we're going to do 3 trips, spring, summer, fall. Why is there not winter? It's just cold. Okay, I don't like the cold. You probably don't like the cold either. So there's nothing to do when it's cold. We're just like, so I was like, let's just do 3 trips a year, and people started coming. So last year, which was the first year we started doing it, we had 6 people come on that first one. Summer was a little sparse. We had 1 person, but that's still a person. And then the fall, we had 4 people come. And then spring, we had 5 guys come. And one of those guys was a member of the church of the pastor that had come the previous year. And so like God is, and then we just finished up summer recon, and we had 6 guys come. So we've had 21 people come, and a lot of them are considering missions. And I've already interviewed one of them for an internship. We have another guy who's applied for an internship, who's, Lord willing, if everything works out, they'll be with us next year. So we have 2 guys potentially that will be interning us with us for 2 years. And when we say internship, we kind of have 2 tracks. You had like the, college summer intern, interns, because, you're a college student. But then we have a 2-year track, which is where we're really trying to push people to. And that's what a lot of places would consider your first term on the field. Culture, language, ministry, plug in. But we're just calling it an internship. That's to kind of lower the bar, because I feel like a lot of people, there's this pressure. Like, you've got to make it. And like, it's an internship. If you finish your internship, if it doesn't work out, God bless you. Keep going. Do something else. Instead of like, I had this first term, it didn't work out, we left, and then like you come back to the States with your tail tucked between your legs, you change churches, you change your email, you scrub your social media, let's not do that.
I think a lot of us as college students or just over that, you're still trying to figure out where God wants you. And Japan may be on your heart, and you're like, I think I want to go to Japan, but instead of spending 2-3 years raising support to do that for the rest of your life, raise support for an internship. Come on an internship, and then it becomes so much clearer. Like, does God want you in Japan?
And another thing that was encouraging to us is we spent 2 years raising our support through primarily churches, but there's other ways to do that. We've met people while we're over here who are like, we raised our support in 7 months, 6 months, 7 months. So it's possible. So we're seeing a vision. It's like, you don't need to spend 2 years doing that. We can get you over here quicker. And we don't need to rush things, but we don't need to take all day either. So that's been kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, I think just learning that when you come through, you know what's around you, right? And that's so sometimes what's around you and what's familiar, it's easy to think that's the only way. And as we've connected with more missionaries and know more, we've realized, so the way we raise support is one way to raise support.
It is a way.
It is a way, but it's not the only way. And there's other missionaries who've used other ways to raise support, and sometimes that's faster. There's other missionaries who do it differently, and sometimes it takes longer. But just like realizing that it's not like there's this only one way and this is the way you have to do it, but there's multiple different paths and styles that you can take to accomplish the same goal of having the financial support you need to do ministry in Japan. So just being more aware and open to that.
So where was I going with that? I don't remember. Support, time, people.
Recon.
People coming, internships. Internships. So we're like, you can realistically, you should be able to raise money for an internship to come for 2 years in several months, live here, learn the language, and actively be involved in ministry. Our desire is for you to stay and be part of a team that starts a new church. Like, that's the goal. But we will also want there to be the possibility of you come, maybe God redirects you and you're like, I was serving, I was interning, I learned a lot. God's calling me to Africa now. God bless you. You know, like, instead of, I thought you were called to Japan. Like, if you know you're called to Japan, just come, okay? Like, I'm not stopping you. But it's like, I think there's no shame in saying, I'm still trying to figure this out, but God has opened this door and I want to go serve where there's an opportunity to do this. Like, come. You know, if you're qualified, come.
You don't have to commit for life to come
For 2 years.
and get some direction. Yeah.
You might just love it here and realize God does want you here. You know, so yeah, that's been really cool to see. That's been taken off. Like,
and I think kind of in a connection to that, we briefly mentioned it earlier, but I think we've just really seen the importance of having a team when you're trying to start a church, because when it was just us,
100 hours,
you know, and not just the hours, but there were times you were at church preaching with a high fever, and like, that's like, sometimes you do what you have to do, but we also have these bodies that are the temple of the Holy Spirit that we're supposed to take care of. And when you're sick, there's nothing wrong with resting. But if you literally have no one else on your team, like, there's no one to step in and do that. Like,
which maybe I should have handled that differently. Maybe I should have just said, I mean, we only have 5 people coming. Sorry, I can't come today.
yeah.
You know, that pressure to perform. Like, we have to do church. We're here to do church. Like, sorry, I'm sick, can't come.
Yeah.
You know,
Some of those things that we've looked
I don't
at.
have the right answer to that, by the way.
Yeah.
So I don't. Like,
And I think every person would have to handle that.
And
You know,
answer
they'd have to
answer
seek
for
God and
themselves.
figure out in that specific situation
Yeah.
how to handle it. But I think just looking back, we see more and more the importance of having a team when you're trying to start a church instead of just going as a lone ranger.
Yeah.
We don't have to be lone
especially because
rangers.
it takes longer.
Yeah.
And that's not, it's hard. That's not, it's just like, it takes time. It takes time to build trust. It takes time to do all these things.
Here in Japan.
Here in
specifically.
Japan. So we're kind of talking about the technical ministry side of things first. And then I want to get into maybe family and stuff there too. But
It's there too.
so yeah, recon, we did like a guitar class. We had some people come. That we did jazz concert was fun.
Jazz concert was a lot of fun.
It's like, why not? Why can we not have a jazz concert? And found a Christian guy, professional Christian saxophonist, offered to do it. Man, we made so many mistakes on that too, but made some new friends through that. God's connected us with a lot of other churches that are in or around the city. And
people heard the gospel because he shared his testimony at the jazz concert. So people came for a jazz Christmas concert because that's just fun. And he shared his testimony. And probably people in that room heard a Christian share their testimony for the first time. And that's really awesome.
We had a family come to church, that lady who brought her son to the kids club thing. So that was something that was really unexpected, the egg hunt.
Oh, okay. So can we step back a little bit
Okay,
here? With
step
the
back.
Okay.
Step back.
So, because I think this leads up to the egg hunt.
Okay.
We didn't mention this. This is more on a family side of things. But when we moved, we found the church building. We were trying to find a place to live, right? And we were like, we want to be really close to the church. And we wanted to be in a standalone house.
Yeah.
Because I was used to that. Like, right, America, everybody has a house. I mean, some people live in an apartment still, but just with little kids, I was like, it would really just be so much easier to just live in a house where the car's out front instead of an apartment where, And our real estate agent was so gracious with us.
We looked at a bunch of
and
houses
patient
too. We went.
We could not find a place to live near the church.
I mean, unless it was like
And it
really
was like
old,
super
run down.
old, probably moldy. Like, it just would not have been a good living situation. And so we could not find a good place to live. And we were like, this is crazy. And our real estate agent was like, would you please just come look at these apartments?
I found something.
I think I found a good apartment for you guys.
Take a look.
I think it would be a good fit. Will you please come look at it? Just humor me and come look at it. And we were like, okay. We went.
We're gonna go just to be nice to him, but we're not gonna.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go to this thing. We're gonna get a house. We're gonna just keep praying for a house, keep looking for a house. But
And the other way he got us is he's like, these specific apartments don't have a long contract. It's a month by month. So if you find a house later on down the road, you could move again.
yeah,
You're not tied in.
It's semi-public housing. It's not like full-on city housing. Semi-private, semi-public. So the barrier to entry is a lot lower. There's not as many strings attached.
And so we went and we were like, we actually really like this. We think this might work.
It's like a 22-minute drive to the church.
It was like 22 minutes to the church. We wanted to be like 5 minutes from the church. That was our goal. But in looking back, God just put us there.
I think we belong
so
there.
Clearly.
We belong there still.
And we've been there for 4 years now. And
we said we're going to move in a year.
Yeah,
this will buy us some time. We'll find a house. We'll move down. And here we are 4 years later, still living.
And coming back to States on furlough, and then coming back to our home here in this apartment. But
not this apartment.
Not here, but
yeah.
But the connections God has given us in that community. And I think that's something else. When we went through that time of you like working 80 to 100 hours a week, we realized, wait a minute. How is God going to work? God is going to work through us relationships with people.
Yeah.
And
not even just passing out tracts. Or,
Yeah.
Like, not saying you shouldn't do that, but here, like, what bears fruit is these relationships.
And it's probably like that in the States too. Like usually the people who get saved, somebody's been witnessing to them, loving on them, inviting them to church, somebody they trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were thinking about that and praying about that. Like, we need to spend more time with the families around us.
People.
God had given us a lot of connections through just me having with the kids. Like we go to the park and play with the kids, and there's other moms, and you slowly see each other's faces more. And so we decided to start being more intentional about going and spending time with other families to build those relationships. And doing that over the course of a year and a half, that gradually has built, we've seen just more opportunities to talk with these friends about spiritual things, invite them to church events. And I think that all kind of culminated a little bit this year at the Easter egg hunt.
Well, I mean, the last year, though, the first year that we did it, the picnic.
Yeah.
So,
we did do that.
Because we were like, so we're like, let's start a kids program, start a kids ministry. And we borrowed curriculum from another church, tried to run it. It was very well written, but I think it's more like Sunday school. Okay.
We're still trying to figure
things out, trying to get people on board. People were like, okay, let's do this. We had some people excited about it, and they were helping out. But then like some days it started like dwindling, and people were getting tired because we were doing it twice a month. Sunday afternoons were long. I was like, and then like very few people were showing up. So we put it on. We pressed pause. But then in April, I think it was Easter, and we said, instead of doing church at church, let's just do a picnic. So in Japan, a lot of times we'll do a lot of what's called ohanami. It's like seeing the
flowers.
The cherry blossoms. So we're doing this cherry blossom picnic church thing at the park. So that would be something that people can invite their friends to and do this. And so we actually had some people come that don't normally come, unbelievers. And then afterwards, we're like, we'll do an egg hunt and just try to get the word out. So the thing did it at a park near the church. And we put it on our kids' Instagram. We have our own, not just our church Instagram, but our kids' ministry Instagram, just to keep everything separate. And I put it out there, a very basic picture thing, and like egg hunt at the park this time, and we just boosted it. And our Instagram account went from like 20 followers to like 200. And like got tons of saves, and I was like,
what's going to happen?
We don't know, because there's no prior registration. It would just show up. So we're like, let's get 30 bags. I don't think we'll use them. Because the thing is, we've done so many things where we're like, we've got to prepare like 50 people. And then like 2 people come. And we're left with all this stuff. I'm like, what do we do with this? So we didn't want that to be a repeat. But as I was watching the metrics on our Instagram and seeing how many people had liked it and followed us, I'm like, I think we might have
People show up.
be a thing. So we did it. And we gave away every single bag. Every single bag that we had prepared was gone. And all the eggs, we had 300 eggs, they were gone in like 10 minutes. Because we just kind of threw it together, in a sense. And we were like,
trying very simple. We just literally just show up. You'll get a bag, which has a gospel tract in it and some things, and you get to hunt for eggs, for candy, and that's it.
Yeah. But people showed up and they disappeared like that.
What just happened?
The church people were like, whoa, what happened?
It was fun.
So yeah, and so we're like, we're doing that again next year. So, this year we had 700 something eggs. We had like 40 kids show up, I think, with their parents. So probably like 70 something people. That was cool. So
And this year, we took it further.
Yeah.
And we did a whole,
we tried to do our kids club, but just at the park instead.
so we had the Easter story with
Sang
big
some
pictures.
songs.
We sang songs. We did a short English lesson because that's popular here. A lot of parents want their kids to be exposed to English. So if you can do a little bit of English, they like it.
So our kids program, the hook for the parents, the selling point to parents is the English, but the kids love the craft. They love the dancing. They love hanging out, playing.
Yeah.
So they're coming for two different reasons, but it gets them in the door. So that happened, and that was really cool to see.
And to that, so connecting back to what we were saying earlier, to that egg hunt, we had 1, 2, 3
this year.
This year, 4, like 5 different families that we have connected with either directly in our neighborhood or through the boys' school that came to the Easter event. They haven't come to church, but they came to the Easter event to come to the egg hunt. They heard the gospel, and we're getting to continue to build that with them.
They haven't like stiff armed.
They were willing to come to a church event.
Yeah.
And that was really, really cool.
So I think now in our minds, when we came, it was all about come to church, come to church, come to church, come to church. Now I'm like, yeah, we'd love to have you. You should come. But the come to church conversation doesn't happen until like way later.
First, it's like, yes, we're a Christian.
We're Christian.
And we get to talk about what that means.
Like in my mind, it's like, yes, we're Christians, church, Bible. Well, what's a Bible? It's kind of like this. And then we'll hang out some more. And then there's probably going to be a conversation about alcohol at some point, why we don't drink, or why we decide not to. Like, they're like, are you not allowed to? I'm like, well, and I understand there's different views on this, but here's why we don't drink. They're like, oh, okay. Like, if we haven't had that conversation yet, I typically don't think our relationship is strong enough yet. That doesn't mean we're not going to share the gospel if they ask questions, but kind of understanding where our relationship is with them, with a friend.
I can remember when we were in Niigata, and I would make a friend, and then every time we had a church event, it was, hey, we're doing this church event, you should come. Hey, we're doing this church event, you should come. And I feel like those relationships always fell off because there was not much depth to the relationship, and it was like, people are like, you just want me to come to why are you spamming me to come to your church event? I'm not even interested in that. But I think this term we've learned much more about how to just really care, that's trying to care for people and build those relationships. And then it comes up so much more naturally. They see us praying with our kids. They know that we go to church together on Sunday as a family. They hear about why we raise our kids the way we do and how Jesus, informs our parenting. And it comes up a lot more in those natural ways. And then you get to the point where they're like, I trust you, and you invited me to come do this thing with you.
Trust.
And it's at a church. I've never been to a church before. I feel a little nervous about that, but I trust you, so I will come with you.
And the thing is, like, most people here have never been to church. Yeah. So they don't know what to expect. They don't know what they're walking into. Yeah, it's like, what's going to happen to me? Yeah. So providing...
Like, how would you feel if somebody invited you to some, like, Buddhist ritual thing at a temple? Like, that's probably how they feel.
Or a mosque.
Yeah. It's like, you really need trust. And some people, there's exceptions.
There's always exceptions. So let's not say everybody, but that was interesting to see that pan out. We've tried passing stuff out too, like tracts. We made like a cell phone tract, fans.
Tracts, fans,
tissues. The fans are fun because we had like a pretty decent crowd come to help pass them out.
Paper fans.
And like 5,000 in like an hour and a half.
Yeah, at a big festival. That was fun.
We tried. Oh, here's the other thing. We felt this pressure to start another church within the first year. Start a second church. So we tried, and it failed. But
we didn't have our first church. Church going yet.
But we tried. Didn't go so well. But a guy actually came to one of those services, Bible studies, essentially, and we're still in touch. He's come to our other location, our main location, a couple times too. We've stayed in touch. He's in our church line group right now. So that was the thing. Another thing that we did for a while, we were having Wednesday night church, and as we were evaluating Wednesday nights, we had like one, maybe two people come. And as we were going through this whole like work hours thing, one of the things like, do we really need to be doing this? And I know this is going to sound like heresy to some people, like you don't do Wednesday night. I know I told you earlier, we started out with like 4 services on the weekend: Saturday, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, and then midweek, Wednesday. I was like, we cut back to, we dropped the Saturday, we dropped the Sunday afternoon, evening, and then we are at Sunday morning and Wednesday. And then we basically moved Wednesday nights to, let's just do this online on Zoom instead, because people are kind of spread out. And so that was interesting, because I felt like it would be like low and there'd be like one person or 2 people. And then we go, whoo, I'm like, okay, we need to cut this. And then we go 6, 7, 8 people, whoo, and then it come back down.
Definitely an ebb and flow.
And so I was spending all this time preparing material and lessons and stuff. I'm like, I'm going through all this work. One person's going to be there tonight on the Zoom call. Or maybe no
Maybe
people.
sometimes just us, yeah.
Like, what are we doing? There's got to be a better use of our time. So we made a pivot, a year ago, 2 years ago, through that like reevaluating, like trying to figure out our efficiency. And like, why don't we instead record a video, a teaching video, going through whatever we're talking about. We'll upload that to our YouTube, and we can have a discussion about it. And so first, we tried doing the discussion on video, and then we moved it to just over text. And so that's been hit or miss, but the material gets out there and it's getting views.
People are watching the material, yeah.
People who have even dropped off, they're still consuming that content and learning the Bible. And I think that's something that coming into it, we didn't expect. I didn't really anticipate.
I didn't see that.
So when we first started, I remember sitting down at a restaurant. They had a coffee bar or whatever, so have some drinks and like writing blog articles for the church website. What is the Bible? Who is God? Who is Jesus? What is salvation? Like stuff like that, and put those on our website. There's a ton of typos on our website, but that's a different story. That came up later. But that really helped give our church visibility online. Like if you search like Christianity Bible, I think our church website, we're this tiny church plant in a tiny corner of town, but our church website is on the first page of Google. Like, that's really cool to me. And then I had made a few videos that first year. The Unification Church had a big scandal. Basically, our former prime minister gets assassinated. The guy who assassinates him, he's mad because his mom was involved in this group called the Unification Church, also known as the Moonies. And it's a Korean-based cult, essentially. And he said, my mom gave all of our money to this group, and we grew up without any money. And the group gives large sums to politicians, and so they're tied together, bam, shoots them. Huge scandal comes out. They've actually been commanded to disband because it's such a big problem, the way their money is working. And so in Japan, a lot of times the religious stuff is seen as like money, problems, and all that. So I put out a video and I said, please don't give. That was the title, please don't give. And I actually like mispronounced one of the words, and that got us our most engagement. But that video was basically, the basic gist is, if you're trying to give money to go to heaven, just please stop. That, like, I'm not saying don't.
Not getting you to heaven.
Giving money is not going to get you to heaven. Please stop. And like we look through a passage and talk about it. Well, that at some point the algorithm picked it up, and it blows up. So I'm going to start talking about some of our technology online stuff. It blows up and got us like hundreds of subscribers on this channel for our teeny tiny church plant that has these people. And so we realized, man, there's opportunity here. There's untapped opportunity. And, you know, I have a tech background. I do video stuff too, like cameras. And so we migrated our Wednesday night teaching to videos. And we've seen a lot of fruit from that. Our most recent one, not teaching video, but the passage we were looking at was a passage that Jehovah's Witnesses typically use as a proof text. So I was like, you know what? Let me take some time to actually make a decent video for this. And that's gained us subscribers and views and comments and just the opportunity for some more online stuff. I want to dip into it more. It's just there's so much that happens. I'm actually praying for a full-time video person, which I'm not sure who that's going to be, how that's going to work, but that. And so that's been really cool to see that. Like coming into it, I don't think we expected that, because we're just trying to get people to church here in the building. It's like we can have a lot further reach. So right now we have an online chat group line where we just had someone else jump in, a few people from the Tokyo area, a person from the Tokyo area, someone from a nearby city who's an unbeliever. We fielded questions from people who are just like curious because it's anonymous.
And it's cool to see our church, since our church members are in that group too. Many times they'll jump on and answer questions, and it's neat to see them get involved with that. Yeah.
So I think before I felt like there was a certain way I had to do ministry, like this is how the church is supposed to be and how you're supposed to operate it. But now I'm like, this is what God seems to be blessing. So let's continue to do this and help people.
And we're having church.
Yeah, no, we're not like
we do believe that God.
Like we do believe in a local church. Okay,
a physical body of believers, local church. But in the process of trying to get the gospel out in a country where most people
have never heard,
they don't understand the gospel. They don't understand anything about Christianity. Like one of the biggest barriers here is just people hearing.
Yeah.
And if we can use the internet to help people are on the internet looking, if we can use that as a way to help them to hear, that's huge in the steps of them then being able to, they need to know a Christian, they need to hear, and they need to know a Christian who can help them understand and witness to them. Yeah.
Building that trust. Yeah. So, seeing the online stuff take off like that has been really neat. Another thing that has been really neat to see is last year, our US social media blew up. So I was at downtown passing out tissues. And then on the way back, I was in the underground. There's a lot of people, and I literally just took my phone, recorded a clip. It wasn't even a very crisp video or anything. It was just a very basic clip. And I put, pray for Japan and for God to send more laborers here.
That was it.
7 seconds. Boom.
It blew up.
It blew up in ways that I never even imagined. Like we got tons of hate comments, like tons and tons and tons and tons of hate comments. But it got 2.3 million views. And our Instagram, that had been primarily just like our family and updates, and we'd put some stuff out there about Nagoya and about Japan, all of a sudden, all these people started following us. We got like 5,000 followers. Like, where'd you guys come from?
And started messaging
us, and it was nuts. And so seeing that, I was shocked. But that's also how a lot of people have come to Recon now, is they find us online on social media because the algorithm just pushes our stuff to them. And we're like, man, God keeps blessing this. So that's been another unique thing.
Connecting us with people.
Literally all over the world through that. Like, we never expected that. But seeing the vision for 16 churches by 2030, and then God brings us Chris, and then our social media takes off. Because I remember literally a week or two before the video took off, there's a Japanese garden by our house, and there's a pretty waterfall there. And I was trying to be more intentional about taking time off during the day, getting out, take a walk, all that stuff. And so I was sitting there, looking at the rock and seeing the water just flow over the rock. And the way it's set up, it's not just it's not a water spout, right? It's not just, it's there's water over here, and some places a lot of water, some places it's a trickle. And I remember praying and saying, God, I want my life to be where the water's gushing out, not the little trickle. It's just trickling down the rock. Because there's some places the rock is wet, but it's just a little bit. It's like, I want you to make my life that where it's like pouring out. And then like literally a couple weeks later, couple weeks later, that video takes off. And I'm like, where are all these comments coming from? Where are all these DMs coming from? These messages coming from? Like, what? And then like I went back, and then that's when I realized, he did that. Like, not everybody gets to do that. That just happened. He just answered that. Like, and just that, I don't know, that blew my mind a little bit to see that. And so we made a pivot, because originally, like our whole Reaching Japan thing, it was literally just kind of like a cool name that we just tried to choose. But then we realized, as God is sending us people, and as God is, working to bring us more people, we have to be ready to receive them. So we started doing online seminars for our US YouTube. We've been doing writing articles, like trying to get material and stuff ready to, when people raise their hand, we're ready for them, as almost like an act of faith, right? Like, we don't want to pray. Like, I remember one person one time, he was saying, don't pray for God to send you a bunch of kids and then not be ready. What if God sends you 200 and you're not ready to receive them? Then what? So, like, do you really want God to answer your prayers? Like, let's be ready to receive these people that we're praying for, because we've been praying for them. We set our phones to go off at 9:30. Oh, I do.
You do. I don't think mine's set, but yours is, and I hear yours most days.
So 9:38, Matthew 9:38. Pray the Lord of the harvest, send more laborers into his harvest. So praying for that, and people start coming and just being ready to receive them. And so that's also another shift we made. We took our website, instead of just being about the Miyasha family and our updates, like, here are resources, here are ways to get involved, all of that, and seeing God work through that. Somebody was saying the other day about how a lot of times change and growth, it's gradually and then suddenly. Like, I feel like there's nothing going on, and then all of a sudden, but it's been this buildup. And we're seeing that. And I think we're seeing that going into our furlough too, like the connections that we're making and all that stuff. But before we jump into the furlough though, family. Let's talk about family.
So most we have 3 kids who are now 6, 5, and 3 years old. And they have been attending, when kids here, usually when they turn 3, the year that they turn 3, they then start attending a pre-K, basically. And it's a way to start interacting with other kids. For our kids, it's a way to learn the language, to learn Japanese, and to be able to get that foundation in Japanese, because we want them to be comfortable doing life here and not be stuck in English. So and then it's also a great way to meet other families and connect with their families. So they've been in pre-K, and then our oldest just started first grade this year in April. So he just started at the elementary school around the corner from our house.
Yeah.
So
walks to school.
Yeah, walks to school, because that's how it works there in Japan. All the kids gather in the morning outside their home, and they walk together to school. And
7:50 every morning. There they go.
It's been a lot of learning. Kids are fun. They're a blast. They ask so many questions. They're also captive audiences to talk to about Jesus, which is fun.
And they're trying to convert people too.
Yeah.
Talking to people.
They're always talking about, we need to tell these people about Jesus. We need to talk to these people about Jesus. And that's neat when you see your kid who hasn't even chosen to follow Jesus for themselves yet already have a little desire in their heart to share Jesus with their friends.
And we've chosen to put our kids through the public school system here. For now, anyway. We'll see. That might change.
That year by year, kid by kid.
That might change. Yeah. But we really want to, be the salt and the light in the community. And as we've gone through, we've realized how valuable, again, going back to those relationships, how much those relationships are formed even through local school communities. And I didn't even talk about the whole parole officer thing that's connected me with stuff. But even that, his daughter is connected to you through school. So
the community,
like getting involved in people's lives and knowing people. The school and pre-K, kindergarten, whatever, have opened up so many doors.
They
for
really
us,
have.
for those
And
relationships.
we've got a family from kindergarten that comes every time we have kids club, brings their kid. They're not even
They're
kids
not
are
even in
first grader
kindergarten now.
Friend
They're
of Silas
in different school.
They
But
come every single month to our kids club at the church. And
yeah.
I don't know, having kids and being able to do ministry with kids. My role in ministry looks a lot different than I think I ever would have imagined, because I have, we have 3 kids very close in age. And
What did you think it was going to be?
I mean, we got married and I knew you were coming to Japan and I knew I wanted to be involved in missions. And I think I imagined, tons of Bible studies and ladies meetings and events and which I do get to do some of those things, but we had 3 kids, one right after the other, and which is so much fun, but also requires a lot of energy from mom.
A lot of energy.
Right? Like
A lot of energy. They're high energy.
They're 3 boys. They're high energy. It's a ton of fun. But we spend a lot of time going to the park, and that's actually led to so many connections. I don't think I imagined that a lot of my life at this stage with small kids would be making connections with other kids' parents.
Going to the park,
talking to the other moms, and then that leading to our families hanging out, being involved in the parent-teacher association at school, and trying to just keep making connections through that. And I don't know, and I still get the opportunities to do the Bible studies with the people, with women who are saved and coming to church, or women who are not saved and curious. But motherhood is still very important, and I think we try to keep that, not let that be overrun by ministry responsibilities.
I think, there was this sense of like ministry. We're here to do ministry, but I think we've backed off. Especially, I'm not sure if I had a philosophy of like what a missionary wife should be necessarily, but now I'm like, no, your first calling is you're a wife and mother. You don't need to be involved in church. You need first keepers at home. I know that's not politically correct right now, probably, but like, if you're doing that and you're doing it well, you're okay. No shame.
Yeah.
No shame. Now, she helps, okay? I'm not saying she doesn't, and she just sits at home, works very hard, okay? But like, I think getting to a place like, okay, I can't do that because I'm taking care of the kids. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm not expecting you to like all this stuff. But, biblically speaking, that's your first mandate. And so being comfortable with that, I guess.
Definitely. I actually went through a stage when we first came to Nagoya feeling guilty, because when we were in Niigata, I was in language school. So every morning I went to language school, and from the time Silas was 5 months old, I mean, I was in language school for a solid 2 years. Every day, every morning of the week, I was doing that. So then we got here to Nagoya, and I was home with the kids, and I kind of felt this like guilt of like, I'm supposed to be doing ministry. I'm supposed to be doing something, but I literally had a newborn, a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And like, that takes a lot of investment, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think I had to work through that guilt and be okay with that. Like, it's okay. And especially with kids, they need to be disciplined. They need to be trained.
They need time.
They need to be taught, and that takes time. And if you're constantly chasing and running around trying to do ministry and you miss that, like, so I think I've had to be okay with, there's some days that I'm like, man, the kids really need help with their attitudes today, and we're gonna stay home so we can be intentional about this.
Yeah.
Like just being okay with that took a shift in mindset.
The other thing too is, I think, we now we see a young mom with like 2 kids, 3 kids, and like, oh man, she's working hard, And I think everybody else could see that. And then if you're trying to like, but I have to do this, people are like, what are you doing? Everybody else who has some heart, they're like, oh man, it's hard, isn't it? Like, no, it's not hard. I'm trying. I'm okay. They're like, no, you're not. We all know you're not.
Yeah.
Like, stop. Just stop it. Like we create this unnecessary ministry pressure. Like people in Japan, they're like, okay, you're a mom, great. Like, no pressure.
Be a mom.
Be a mom. That's fine. But like, we're like, no, we're a missionary. So like, chill.
And then to see how God has blessed through
that.
Through being a mom and
Just
taking my kids.
Being.
like that has just led to so many opportunities to connect with families. And
Share the gospel.
all the families who came to the Easter egg hunt this year, we met because of the kids and being a mom, the kids being out and about. And that's really cool.
So I want to talk about how we talk to our kids, because being in Japan, there's a lot of idolatry.
Mm-hmm.
And so since we're on the subject of family, I want to talk about that and then talk about how we've seen it for relationships. We touched on it briefly a little bit earlier, but like those families, those people, some of the frustration that we felt and like not getting to share the gospel with them, and then seeing how it actually played out and realizing God's work through that. So first, kids, family. Even though Japan is very secular, there's still a lot of the religious stuff intertwined with stuff. And so we've tried to be very intentional when talking to our boys about like, that's a shrine, we don't pray there. We pray to Jesus. Like we talk about that.
All the time.
All the time. This is a temple, we don't pray here. See those people? They're here because they don't know Jesus. They don't believe in Jesus, they don't follow Jesus. And trying to make that very, very clear, because a lot of stuff is just like, oh, this is just culture, it's okay, like this is just what we do. And we're like, no, it's not okay. This is why. And that's been interesting. We got some good advice though about keeping them out of school on certain days and instead making it fun. Instead of like, no, we don't do this. Like, well, that day they're going to be doing that, but we're going to the aquarium. And trying to be intentional about that, I think has helped.
There are times that there are festivals that are seen as cultural festivals, but they do have religious components. And when they have those kind of festivals that they celebrate at school, we keep the kids out. And we always try to play something fun with the kids. Because they're like, oh, all of our friends are getting to do this festival type thing at school.
They're having fun. And I have to stay home. I'm grounded for that.
But just to show them, like,
we can have fun too.
Being Christian doesn't mean we don't get to do the fun stuff. Being Christian means we follow Jesus, and we can still have a blast while we're following Jesus.
And, you know, like a lot of the festivals, the matsuri, they're tied in with shrines. But if there's one that's not, just like one that's put on by a neighborhood shotengai, it's like a street festival. We go to that.
And
we'll
invite
buy
friends
the
and
food
go
and like
get the cotton candy.
We're not against going and having fun. We're against supporting idolatry and trying to like draw those lines a little bit more. Like one time they were going to go listen to the drums, and they're like, we're just going to go listen to the Japanese taiko drums performance, but it's hosted at the shrine. And we said,
we're not going to let our kids
I don't think we want our kids going to the shrine. And then later, they're like, actually, they were all putting their hands together because that's culture here. And so understanding that, but we went and did something else that day, you know? And so he's like, yeah, I asked my friends and they said they all prayed. So, you know, doing that. So that's been fun, and helping our kids think through stuff. We try not to say, or Christians, we don't do that. We say, well, that's praying to something else, but should we pray to anything else besides Jesus, to God? Like,
help them think
no.
that.
So I think they're beginning to understand those things for themselves. Remember, they were our oldest son and our middle son, Silas and Amos, were having a talk about whether they should sing the song or not. Remember that? Silas was like, I don't sing the song, it's wrong. And Amos was like, I like it, it's pretty. And then they're like, well, what does it talk about? Like, oh, no. Amos, what do you think? It's like, maybe I should.
Maybe I shouldn't sing the song at the festival,
So like helping them think through that themselves. Like 5.
But they can think it through.
They can think it through. They're smart. God's given them incredible capacity to think through stuff. So that blows me away too, just how smart they are. But there's that. And then you're making friends, you're going to the park. And I think we've learned over the years the value of showing up. Because again, back to like rushing things. I went to the park, I met somebody, but like we didn't hit it off very well. Or I went to the park, nobody talked to me. Or I went to the sports thing, nobody talked to me. And like, okay, maybe I need to go do something else, right?
Like I tried that, it didn't work. But you tried one time.
You went one time and nobody talked to you. So what?
Show up.
Now I'm like, show up 10 times. If you go 10 times and you still don't have anybody, then we can reevaluate. But once, maybe everybody was just having a bad day. So like going to the park.
Like in Japan, usually going to the park, there's another parent there.
At least in our part of Japan.
In our area. My experience has been, you go to the park and there's another parent there playing with their kid and you kind of smile and nod at each other. And possibly you might say hi and ask how old their kid is. That would be your first interaction. Then you go to the park again, that same parent there's like, oh, hi. We've seen each other before. And this time, you're definitely going to ask how old their kid is. Do they have brothers and sisters? A little bit more. You still don't know their name.
Yeah. A lot of times you don't even know their name yet.
Don't know their name.
You just know their face.
It would be a little rude to ask their name up that front usually. There's exceptions, but typically. And then you see them again at the park. And this time, oh, yeah, we had fun last time. Playing again. What school do they go to? You kind of find out what school they're in.
More personal questions.
Yeah.
You don't ask, like in America, like you start asking a ton of personal questions. Here in Japan, they're like, whoa. What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
Are you trying to figure out how much I make so you can come rob me? Like people are very suspicious.
They are.
Like when we have people from America come, it blows me away how much personal information they offer me in like the first 10 minutes. Like I do this and this and I'm like, whoa, too much.
That's a lot of private
Probably gonna be facing a culture shock in the state. Like, I didn't even ask.
Yeah,
like
a whole conversation.
we just met. Like, why are you telling me this? Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. And so then you're going to have several of those conversations. And then if your kids are hitting it off well, or you are talking a little bit more, then it might be, why don't we switch contact info so
exchange contact info
so we can actually play sometime, set up a play date. And so you've seen them 5 or 6 times, and you exchange that, and then you set up. Let's get together and play. And usually the first time you set up to play is going to be at a park somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not going to be in
Public.
anybody's house. And then you do that once or twice, and then it's like, why don't you come over to my house sometime for tea? And then you're starting to get deeper into relationships. You probably know a little bit more about their family. You probably know what job their husband has. You probably know if they work. You're like slowly starting to get to that, but you haven't got to anything hard yet.
Yeah.
Like,
that's still very short. So this is probably what, 10 interactions, 15 interactions in, and we know names, and oh, you're from America, oh, your husband does this, boom.
And then you start crossing over into, yeah, with parenting, I'm struggling with this. I've been having a hard time with this with my kid. Do you ever face that? What do you do? And then you start, those are the conversations where you start going beneath the surface a little bit. And that's when you get to start bringing more, like, they probably knew from maybe the third time you met, maybe the first time even, they probably knew you're a Christian. You probably were able to put that out right at the beginning. Yeah, I'm a Christian. Yeah, my husband's a pastor. Yeah, we go to this church over here. We follow Jesus. They probably know, oh, you don't participate in some of the festivals and stuff. But then you finally get to that point where you start to get to share, yeah, as a parent, it's hard, and Jesus provides grace and strength to work through that. And then you start to get to bring the gospel into the conversations more. But you've got to have all of those other conversations to get there.
Yeah.
If you tried to jump straight to that,
they're gonna.
most cases, and there's exceptions.
There are
most
exceptions.
Cases, people are going to be like, whoa.
Yeah.
And you have to show up and build towards that. And then you get to do that.
That's the process.
Yeah.
And then, thinking about our neighbors across the way, we started meeting up as a family because we had this shift that we talked about we need to spend time with people more instead of just like doing ministry, doing evangelism. Let's just spend time with people.
Because I think we saw it kind of as like, I was just playing with the kids.
Yeah.
And you were working.
Yeah.
And then we realized like part of this like evangelism thing is like, we got to, how are you going to be able to evangelize to the husbands of the women I'm trying to witness to if you haven't even met them? Like, we got to
So we started doing family get-togethers. Your family, our family, and not her family, but our family and their family. Let's go on a picnic. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And then we did that multiple times. And a lot of times we walk away driving home like,
well, we didn't get to have a clear.
We didn't share the gospel with them. Like, what are we doing? Like, again, all this doubt, all this like frustration. Like, what are we doing here? But then through various circumstances, the ice starts to crack. And they're like, actually, we wanted to talk to you about X, Y, Z. And thinking about maybe coming to church, maybe doing this, maybe doing that. And it's like, okay, that was not time wasted. That was not all those interactions, all those touch points it's worth it. Another thing, like for me personally, because like I just don't go hang out with other moms at the park all the time, okay? But like one thing that I'm doing right now is like go play badminton on a weeknight. And first time I went, nobody talked to me. Nobody. And again, I think if we had just been starting out, then I would have been like, that doesn't work. Don't go there. They don't.
You would have gone once, maybe twice, and be like, that doesn't work.
But I kept going. I'm like, I got to keep showing up. Show up. And through that, I've made some friends, got contact info, go out to eat afterwards sometimes, have good conversations about Christianity. Creation and the story of the Bible and what is the Bible and how it's about Jesus. Jesus died and rose again. He's coming back. Like all like those natural conversations over ramen. Like, but you don't get that without those reps and you show up.
And you said last night you went last night. And the two guys that you've really been able to connect with are like, we want to come to your house sometime.
Yeah.
So
they're probably going to be coming in
to have them over for dinner.
But that's all because there's this history of trust and they know us and like, okay, let's talk. But it's not like I'm gonna convert you. It's like in the natural course, but because of that, they know who I am, they know what I do, they know what my job is, they know I'm a Christian, but we're still having fun and in the process. And so understanding that, and I think we really want to help people coming over here understand that process more because a lot of times there is this pressure, like people are praying for us, people are giving us money to be here and like, hey everybody, I went to the park. Thanks for your support. Hey everybody, I went and had dinner with 10 people this week. Like, that doesn't sound very evangelistic, but it's a key component. Like, hey, I'm grabbing coffee, I'm grabbing meals, I'm doing this, doing that. Like, it sounds a lot more ministry. Be like, we passed out X thousand tracts. We did this, we did this, we did this. But, I mean, I'm not saying don't do that, but our bread and butter really is people and those relationships and like understanding not only relationships and not only be around people, but understanding the process it takes to earn that trust and get to those conversations. Let's build a bridge to that conversation. Because if you try to get there, things that go fast usually go boom, right? Like,
I think we're starting to. Maybe that's the theme for our entire first term.
Yeah, I was talking to people about this the other day. We were at the sword museum. They were showing how the Japanese katana swords are made, and like it takes time. And people over and over, they hammer the steel, they fold it over, they hammer the steel, and it's not like once or twice. They do it like 15 times. Heat it up, hit it, fold it. Heat it up, hit it, fold it. Heat it up, hit it, fold it. Like it takes time to build these things, and just like, okay, if it's quick, it's probably not good for you. It's probably going to break. And so I think, what is it? There's like, you can have it cheap, you have it quick, you can have it done well. Pick two.
You can't have all three.
But I don't think you can do it cheap. Well, you might be able to, but you can't do it quick and well. You can't do it quick, and if you do it quick and cheap, it's still probably going to break. So if you're going to do it well, it's going to take time. It's going to take money, effort, focus. So yeah, that's been encouraging / like interesting to see our mindset shift a lot. We still are recording videos. We're still putting out material. We're still trying all this stuff. And, the other day we had a guy, I was like, last year, December, January, this year, I was like, we should have a line dangling in the water, like come for counseling, consulting, consultation.
Time to come and
talk,
counsel with the
just
pastor,
in case.
basically.
Yeah. So Zoom and in person. Boom, put that on there. Literally nobody comes. Nobody comes in. I'm like,
it's just like a place where you can put a reservation online.
Like now they have like Calendly and stuff. It's like a Google Calendar link I have on there. Like you can book a reservation. I'm like, I just need to cancel this. It's not working. Last week, a guy booked a meeting. I'm like, okay, and you have to give us your phone number. You have to give us your email. Like it's not, you can't just like, it's not easy to do a no-show. He gave his name, phone number, email address, book, came, never been to church, never read the Bible, never heard the gospel, talking like, I'm wondering about the meaning of life. And, I'm having struggles with my work, and like
And literally shows up to a church to
we
talk to a
talk
pastor.
for 45 minutes, just like, here's the gospel and here's why it matters. It's like, what? And then coffee time. This is an idea we got from another church. We do it once a month. And like every month, I'm like, we're nixing this. We're going to can this. And every month, somebody else that we didn't expect shows up. Like one of the guys who was coming Wednesday nights in person, started working 2 jobs, 3 jobs,
Stopped showing up.
got sick, all this stuff, stopped showing up. He was coming on Zoom for a while, then stopped. 2 months ago, he walks into the church on Saturday, coffee time. Because Anoki, come, you can drink coffee and leave. No pressure. Comes, he's like, I've been watching your YouTube.
Yeah, like I've been watching your
Every time, I'm be sure to hit the like button. I'm like, I'm not even a Christian yet. So, I don't know, it's just been cool to see a lot of different things just all coming together this term.
And so here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Furlough in about a month. And
Are you nervous? I'm kind of nervous.
I'm nervous. I think we've had to deal with, over the past 6 months looking at furlough, we've had to process some emotions because we are closing the church down while we're gone. And that was not what we wanted to do.
Mm-mm.
Our goal was not, we really wanted to have it standalone when we leave.
Yeah.
But
it takes time.
It takes time.
And
there's no one in place to lead the church while we're gone. And we decided that rather than having our believers continue to meet without anyone to lead them, that we would encourage them to go across town to find another congregation that they could go to temporarily or permanently if they decide to.
Yeah.
But
for their sake, to be connected with a community.
To be able to be with a community of believers and under someone else's leadership.
It's not ideal, but we're going to shut that location down. When we get back, we're going to be moving downtown. Again, change of philosophy. Everybody goes downtown on the weekends. What's going on? What's happening? Everybody shows up. That's where the stores are. That's where the shopping, like food.
The city flows downtown.
Everybody, like.
Currently, our church is way on the outside of town.
Yeah,
and you have to have a car to get there. And you don't go there. There's no reason to go there.
Unless you're going there for that reason.
Yeah, there's nothing drawing you.
We're trying to get into the line of traffic that everybody's at. That's going to be our base of operations moving forward to start these other churches. That's going to be the hub with the spokes coming out. So like if people start coming from over here, eventually we'll start a church over there, but they're not going to come over here. People here go here, people here go here. So let's get them where they're going first and then branch out. So that's been an emotional process, but I think we've grieved that.
Yeah, I think we had to grieve a little bit, just that expectation that the church will be able to go on without us. And it's not
in 4 years
to be able to.
I don't think 4 years is a realistic time frame, especially if you're by yourself. I don't think that's a realistic time frame.
Again, if we had a team, then maybe someone else could
have somebody else take care of things while we're gone. But right now, they're not here yet. But the team is growing. People are on their way. So I'm very hopeful for that.
We're excited. I don't know. Furlough is going to be a little different. You've kind of pivoted a little bit from just trying to reach out to our supporting churches to also trying to recruit, because we realize there's a huge need here.
And these people that we need to start these churches. And, I think we might lose some support through the season, but at the same time, just thinking about Jesus, what he said, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, all these things, like what you need, your necessities will be taken care of. And so if that's the case, what for me is seeking the kingdom means we're not all about, like before, and I really feel bad about this now, like I regret our time on deputation. Not regret, but like it was all about just like us and our ministry, and please give us money. And I really wanted to be about like, here's a country in need and let's do something about it. So that mindset has shifted a lot, and saying, okay, let's do this. And
trying to network
and
people who
develop relationship.
Yeah,
I want to be more relational. I think before it was very transactional with churches. I send you a prayer letter, you send me money, great. And now I'm like, I want to record a 2-hour video for you to watch because I want you to know what's going on. Like we pivoted to, instead of just prayer letters, video first updates, so you can hear raw. But it's not like, we tried this, didn't work, but we learned. Like, because one time I wrote something negative in our prayer letter, and everybody's like, "It's okay." I was like, "I promise, I'm not trying to quit right now." But I was like, I'm never gonna do that again. So we'll talk about bad news in videos, but you can hear the voice, you can see so it's like everybody knows that we're cool. So yeah, trying to meet with people, and that's been cool to see people who've come on Recon continuing to network for us. That's been interesting.
They came, they saw, their hearts were touched, and they're like, we want to connect other people in the States who see Japan and have a desire to see Japan reached to be able to actually come. So like we've seen people who have come on Recon are helping us to set things up to try to connect with more youth and other people who might be interested in Japan. That's been really awesome.
So yeah, seeing that focus change and family, you'll get to see family.
Yeah, so man, it's been 4 years, and my older sister has had 3 kids while we've been gone, and I haven't met any of her kids.
No, just FaceTime.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see my family. Your parents are here in Japan, but we will hopefully get to see your sisters and who are in the States, and just get to connect with family a little bit. Grandparents.
Because you were worried you wouldn't see them again.
Yeah, I've got 3 living grandparents still. One passed during COVID. But I've got 3 living grandparents, and when we left for Japan 4 years ago, knowing we'd be here for 4 years, there's very much a, will I get to see them when I come back on furlough, or will I be headed back for a funeral?
Yeah.
Especially my one grandmother has had Alzheimer's for years, and she's bedridden right now, and I really thought I was going to be headed back for her funeral at some point this term, and so now I'm 3 weeks away from getting to go and hug her neck, and that's really exciting. I love being here. I love Japan. And it's going to be hard to go back to the States. Because our life is here. And our ministry is here. And our kids' friends are here. But there's going to be a lot of fun things about going to the States. And I don't know, just specifically thinking about that with grandparents and family, and the excitement to see everyone. Those who are thinking about missions, something's like do we leave our family? We're not going to get to see them. But with the technology right now, the ways you can still keep up, and here we are at the end of this 4-year term, and I'm going to get to see them.
Yeah.
And that's really, I just really thank God for that. Yeah. That opportunity this term.
And I think it's something you have to prayerfully consider. But a lot of people are worried. But none of us know. We're not guaranteed tomorrow, but we don't know what tomorrow is going to hold either. And so we have to live in obedience, right? And it might be saying goodbye when you get on the plane. But that might not be the last goodbye. You don't know. You don't know. And
but you don't know that with anyone.
We don't know that with anybody or anything. Yeah. And people that are young and healthy could die.
Not to be all morbid, but
it happens.
Which is why we want to be here.
Yeah. And so, don't let that hold you back, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. If you're like, oh, but my grandparents or this or that, obviously there has to be discernment and wisdom, because sometimes you do need to be there to take care of them. The Bible talks about taking care of your family. And I'm not sure there's one right answer, but don't let that be, if that's just a slight concern, what about this?
God just gives a lot of grace.
Gives grace.
Even when you have loved ones that are not in the best health. So
grace.
But I'm excited. I'm really excited to get to see them and introduce our kids to America. Our youngest has never even been there, and our older 2 were only 2 and 1 when we were there before. So it'll be fun. Yeah.
What are you looking forward to as far as food goes?
Food, man. Mexican, Tex-Mex.
Tex-Mex.
Mexican. It's hard to find good Mexican food here.
Tex-Mex,
I'm looking forward to Tex-Mex.
Although we did get a good Mexican restaurant.
We just have a new Mexican restaurant that opened that actually serves some pretty good tacos.
Yeah, Mexican tacos.
But the enchilada, right? The 2 enchiladas, rice and beans plate with the nachos. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that too.
What else?
That's not asking you to buy it for us, by the way, because if everybody who watches this buys it for us, we're probably gonna get sick of it. So just because we like something doesn't mean you need to buy it for us. Okay, please don't.
Tex-Mex. I don't know. What are you looking for?
I'm looking forward to Zaxby's chicken sandwich.
Zaxby's, yeah.
Zaxby's. I'm also looking forward to Taco Bell. I know Taco Bell gets a bad rap, but
you like it.
I like it.
Baja Blast.
Baja Blast, because we don't have Baja Blast.
Baja Blast.
Baja Blast.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to my mom's cooking. It'll be good old Southern cooking.
And I'm looking forward to just being around other Christians like that are at for lack of better words, at the same level as we are or higher than us as far as like in their walk with
Christian
the Lord.
walk. Mm-hmm.
Because like in our church plant, like we're
A lot of shepherding.
yeah, it's like for lack of better terms, we're the top. We're the upper limit. But there's and that's something that's changed too. Like I started filming with another pastor friend in town. I go to lunch regularly every few months with another guy that's on staff at a different church in town. Both guys love Jesus. In touch with another missionary up north, in touch with another missionary in the greater Tokyo area in Kawasaki. Just like all these people that we're working with and encouraging, like we've seen the need for that and been intentional about fostering those relationships and like saying, hey, let's get together. Instead of like, yeah, you're busy, we're busy. But like, no, we need I need this. I need this encouragement, this mutual. But like getting to have some of that, hopefully, when we're in the States, I'm looking forward to being around other Christians.
I'm excited about our kids seeing other kids whose parents love Jesus. Because right now we have kids who come to Kids Club, but everyone who comes to Kids Club, their parents aren't Christians.
Yeah.
And so they come and they sing the songs and they learn the Bible stories. But I think it will be really exciting to see our kids have other kids whose parents really love Jesus and are taking them to church.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be encouraging for them.
Although we did find out
This is cool.
one of the this is nuts.
So we said our oldest started elementary school in April.
Yes.
And there's another kid in his class who he's become really buddy-buddy with. And we just found out
that his dad became a Christian 3 years ago, and they live in our community.
Oh, and get this. His dad had a friend who witnessed to him for 20 years. 20 years.
20.
The kid's dad, the dad's parents are both Buddhist. And after 20 years of having this friend witness to him, he decided to follow Jesus and believe Jesus.
It's incredible.
And so our son's best buddy at school right now, his dad's a Christian. I don't think his mom's a Christian, but that was huge. That was so exciting.
Like the longer we live in this apartment that our real estate agent connected us to, the more we realize God wants us here. Like the church might move, but we need to stay there. Our neighbors across the way, an older couple, like God provided help, in-house help, and they happen to live in the building in front of us. Neighbors that we've gotten to share the gospel with, invite to stuff. You were just out with our downstairs neighbor yesterday, strengthening that relationship. There was an ad in the city paper for a parole officer opening in our district, and it happened to be our block. Like there's like 30-something openings, and different neighborhoods in the district have certain quotas. And it just so happened that we lived in that one. That's connected me with some pretty powerful people with influence. And then now this with the school. The longer we're here, the more I'm like, we have to be here. God,
it seems very clear.
It's very, so we're keeping our apartment because the money it would take to move all of our stuff out, store it, and then move it back and pay all the setup fees, it just doesn't make sense for 5 months. So we're keeping the apartment. We're going to move back there. And I'm very hopeful about when we get back to, one, establish more relationships, to raise more awareness, to recruit more people for the work here in Japan, and start a church downtown and get this thing going.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to take time. We know that. We're probably going to end up taking shorter furloughs more frequently.
Yeah, that's been another shift.
That's been another shift.
Instead of just the 4 year.
Establish a church, go back, establish, like, that's not very realistic here. So
we're seeing the need for longevity and the need for showing up. And it's hard to do that when you leave for a long
for a year. Like, everything just drops, everything dies. So
and another aspect to that too, if our kids continue in the Japanese school system, Japanese is not like English where you learn 26 letters. Is it 26? Japanese, has two different phonetic alphabets, and then you have thousands of kanji. And they start learning those methodically from first grade. And so if you're gone for 6 months, you fall way behind.
Yeah.
If you're gone for a year, you fall way behind. Even this going 5 months, I'm really going to have to work with Silas while we're in the States to make sure he doesn't fall behind. But we're hoping to be able to shorten our time when we go to the States
Yeah.
so that they won't miss as much of that, because that could be really hard for them to fall way behind. So just some different shifts and things. But
because the school year here, it starts in April and then
3
finishes in
trimesters.
March.
Yeah.
So April to July, summer break, and then
September.
August and August-ish till
End of December.
end of December, and then January to March. And so our furlough is going to coincide this time with they finish up school end of July, we go back during summer break and that second trimester, and then we jump back in that.
We literally match it to we fly back to the States like 2 days after he finishes school, and then we'll fly back to Japan
and then next day he's got to go to school. He's got to be so jet lagged. I'm looking forward to going to the Ark with the boys.
Yeah, I hope we can take them to the Ark.
Some like, because they're going to be learning evolution and stuff in school. But even now, we take them to the aquarium, everything's evolution here. So conversations like, the Bible says this, here's what the Bible says, having those combos as well. So
it's going to be great.
Know. We're nervous. Last time our kids were super sick.
They were very sick the whole furlough.
So
we're praying.
Maybe by the time we actually get to see you in person, we'll actually have a better update for you. But they were so sick. They were puking all the time last time.
The entire 5 months.
Just the germs, different everything, different food. I don't like this. That's kind of something we're nervous about because they're like,
how's the food going to be? Are they going to eat?
Yeah. Because our youngest son has never been to the States, even though he's blonde hair, rides a skateboard.
He's Japanese. He thinks he's Japanese. But yeah, we'll be there in about 3 weeks. We'll be headed that way. And there's a lot of excitement and nervousness and a ton of stuff left to do. I've got a bunch of bags to pack. But
one last praise.
Go.
When we signed the contract on the warehouse, one of the terms was we'd have to take everything out. And we paid for these renovations, put in windows, again, trying to make it not look sketch, AC because it's hot, put in a kid's room, hung insulation because the heat during the summer was just unbearable. And then I contacted the guy, their agent, and I was like, hey, could we maybe just leave this stuff? They're AC units, they work perfectly well. And he's like, okay, let me check. I'll check the owner, but you do need to sign your leaving paperwork. I'm like, okay, I'll come by this day. Okay, show up. The guy's not even there. They're like, oh, he left you the paper to sign. I'm like, but what about the stuff? And they're like, oh, we'll check. And then, because he wasn't even in the office. I'm like, what? Because he was a new guy for us anyway. And then I was like kind of frustrated about that. Then he calls me the next day. He's like, yeah, you're going to have to take the stuff out. It was very flippant. I was like, I hung up the phone. I was like, I bet he didn't even ask the owner.
That's what you told me. I don't think he checked.
I don't think he even checked. I think he's just saying that because he doesn't want to even move. He doesn't, because it makes him no money. It's just extra busy work for him. Moving all this, like, I just take stuff out. Frustrated.
But there was nothing
I could do at that point. Well, then a Brazilian pastor, there was an Assembly of God church, Brazilian congregation. He calls me. It's like, hey, I heard you're leaving, moving out of the building. Like, yeah. Like, could we rent it? I'm like, maybe. So we call our real estate friend and like, hey, there's a church. They say they want to rent this building. Could you step in and maybe help us? So he comes in. The other church comes in. We meet. We talk. And then they get all this stuff. And then he's like, we want to rent it as is. Like, we want to rent it with the stuff in it. So I'm like, okay. So then the company that's managing the property takes that to the owner. And they're like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And then the church backs out. So like, we're like, yay, we don't have to take anything out. No, we have to take everything out. Crap. But then we had to ask, because we installed windows and stuff in the front. I'm like, do we have to take these out too? And our real estate agent contacts the other guy, the property management company, and they're like, no, you don't have to take that stuff out either. They're expecting you to leave the stuff. We're like,
what?
What? So last week, our real estate agent, the property management company, and I met. He checked everything, and actually confirmed with the owner, spoke with him yesterday, and they're like, because we hung insulation, it's very bare. There's a 360 video on our YouTube channel. You can look around, see what the inside looks like. But they're like, you can leave everything. We don't have to do demolition. We just got to take the furniture and the trappings off, and we can walk out. And that was a huge answer to prayer.
And all through, because this Brazilian church decided they wanted to rent it and then backed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that conversation, that proposal went to the owner and they okayed it, now
It's going to save a lot of money.
It's save a lot of money and time. I'm kind of hoping that we can move back into that building later, because we started a Japanese class for Pakistanis, going back to the internationals. That was through a relationship with a guy in the community. That started up. There's a whole other crazy story behind that. But God is
we see potential for that community again down the road, but we believe God is leading us downtown first.
Downtown first, and then come back.
Yeah.
So we want to cherish those relationships and that network, and keep going from there. So we're excited. Everything's coming to a close. But I don't know. We've changed. We've grown. We've seen God do some pretty incredible things, and we're very hopeful. Mm-hmm. If there's anything, we're very hopeful about what the future
excited
is.
For what's next.
And that God's going to do something and continue to do something here in the city. Seeing people baptized, seeing people hear the gospel for the first time, that's always so exciting. Yeah. And we need more people here. So please be praying with us. Set your alarm, 9:38. The other one is 10:02, Luke 10:2. But 10:02 p.m. is kind of late. So 9:38 a.m. works better. So take a pick. But thanks so much. And until next time, bye.